Boom. I'm gonna have to make that thing have like a cooler, more exciting soundtrack. But we are live. Welcome everybody. This is the first episode, the pilot episode, the episode 0 of What the Block. Joseph came up with that name, and I like it. You know, tell us if you don't like it. But if you don't like it,
I was still rooting for crypto and coffee. I thought it was a nice juxtaposition to blockchain and booze.
We talked about crypto and coffee. We were joking about breakfast and booze. Then I was joking with the team, why don't we just call it booze and breakfast? Just forget the blockchain part. Then somebody posted on Twitter some really funny ones. Somebody put like the Alon Goren experience or something, which sounded really awkward. And we had all sorts of ones, but I think Joseph wins with the What the Block. Whoa, it looks like we've already got 25 plus people here. Feel free to hit us up in the comments. Oh man, that's exciting. We got people on LinkedIn. You can watch it on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope, wherever. We'll figure this out as we go. Everyone, the first guest ever is one of my most favorite people because he is one of the founders of Rivet. Austin, welcome.
Hi.
So for people that don't know, I guess since it's the first one, although it's going to all of our channels, just FYI, I'm Alon Goren. I'm one of the founders of Draper Goren Home. We're an early stage blockchain fund and venture studio. That just means we invest in early stage companies building in the blockchain space. And one of those companies is Rivet. So full disclosure, we're investors in Rivet. You can go to drapergorenhome.com to see all of our portfolio companies and all the companies we've invested in. But Austin, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself a little more in depth and tell us a little more about Rivet.
Yeah, so my name is Austin Roberts, and I'm the CEO of Open Relay, which is the company behind Rivet. And we started off about 3.5 years ago now building Open Relay as an open source 0x relayer. And as we were building that, we realized that we had designed this system really well so that it was really low touch and we didn't have to manage it. But it relied on Ethereum nodes because everything that's building on Ethereum has to have Ethereum nodes somewhere, whether you're running them yourself or getting them somewhere, or getting some from a service like Rivet, or you might get data from somebody like Etherscan, but behind the scenes they're getting that data from a node. So everybody needs Ethereum nodes if you're building on the Ethereum blockchain, and they're really hard to manage. I mean, you've got hundreds of gigabytes of data that you're getting from peers. You might be relying on somebody who's trying to run a node off of a Raspberry Pi on their garage on the other side of the planet, and that's where you're getting your information. And so you've got to verify all of that information. You've got to check, make sure you're up to date. You've got to maintain your peers. And then if your node crashes, and servers crash, it happens. You can't pretend that's not going to happen and expect to succeed. So you've got all of these challenges in running a node, and your business is fundamentally dependent on it. And so being the kind of nerd that I am, I was not satisfied with outsourcing this to somebody else, and I was not satisfied with it's a hard problem. I can't really do it myself. So my team took a step back and looked at if we were designing node infrastructure from the ground up, how would we design it to be operationally manageable? And then we built that. So we forked the Go Ethereum client, and we built something that is operationally manageable, that we can stand over. We know that we've got high availability. Any part of any server in our stack can fail. In fact, multiple servers in our stack can fail, and we just keep on chugging. And by the time we were done, we started out with it as an open source project that we were hoping, lots of projects were going to start running their own Infura competitors. But by the time we were done, we realized that it costs thousands of dollars to run a high availability Ethereum cluster. Like even doing it right the way we've done it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was actually I want to dive into some of those things, but first I want to sort of you got to a point that's really interesting. So actually, the way I met you was talking to David Blesnak from Total, and David was telling me was basically like, he asked me one day, he's like, have you talked to Austin? Have you talked with the crew from Rivet? And I told him, like, I didn't even know what Rivet was, and as much as I goof around and play with stuff, and I built like the WordPress crypto plugin and things like that, like I'm not a hardcore engineer at all. I joke that I can mess with things and break things, but I'm not going to build something from scratch. So for me, this stuff was really, really foreign. But and I think for most people who aren't technical in building in this world, but what I kind of, from the business standpoint and from the sort of usability standpoint and making things easier in a super complicated industry, I remember asking David why he was so excited and why he was, so interested in, investing in Rivet, why we should be working with you guys. And I said, well, what do you guys do for a node infrastructure? And I remember he told me that one of their team members spent almost full time just managing their node or their nodes when they did it themselves, and that it cost them, thousands of dollars, not just, you've
got the salaries, you've got the hardware, you've got,
yeah, it's just to run it. And I don't know if they got special hardware for it, but they probably used Amazon or something like that. And that stuff gets really, really expensive. So he told me that he was, he switched over to you guys, and it saved his company thousands of dollars immediately. And now actually that the space has grown and matured, and Total's, traffic volume is going through the roof. He basically has, he basically explained to me that they'd probably be spending like 5 or 10x what they do on you guys if they had to run it themselves. They saved money immediately, but now it would be even more because they have so much more volume.
Yeah, well, and so part of the way we redesigned it made it easier to manage, but part of it also made it more efficient. So the nodes that we run are capable of processing about 4 times as many requests as a conventional Ethereum node, but before they start lagging behind because of an inability. A conventional Ethereum node isn't just serving you requests; it's also processing all of this data that it's getting from somebody's Raspberry Pi on the other side of the planet, and so it's got all of this data that it's got to process. Because of the system that we've designed, we delegate that to some computers, but that's not the servers that are handling your requests. The servers that are handling your requests are just handling requests, so they can do that much more efficiently.
Yeah. So I wanna jump into talking about doing it more efficiently. So you guys recently, I forgot the term. What is it called when you set up servers around the world so that it's just?
We went to a multi-region setup.
Yeah, there we go. I knew that. I knew that was just a brain fart. So you switch to a multi-region setup that makes it more scalable. Another thing that when you mentioned at the beginning, and we've been talking about a little bit, that would be. Oh, here, a LinkedIn user just asked this question. So this is important, right? Like we're diving into the weeds already, but so what's the answer to this? You guys are a third-party node service provider, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we manage an open source project where anybody can try and run their own highly available setup, but it's expensive to do so. Especially for a small project like we started off with Open Relay. Open Relay's Rivet bill would be about $40 a month. So, to spend thousands of dollars on the infrastructure for a project that's going to pay $40 a month, and
and for me, I signed up and I played with it a tiny bit as a semi-technical person, but where it really helped me kind of understand the product. So. If you're listening, a cool way, and I posted this on Twitter a bunch of times, especially when every once in a while, one of Rivet's competitors will go down or something like that. And, you'll feel stuck because, that competitor might be the competitor that powers Metamask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if MetaMask can't connect to the network, you can't transact. So I learned how to upgrade your MetaMask to use the RPC. What does RPC stand for again?
It's remote procedure call. It's a protocol that long predates Web3.
So the RPC URL, or the code that you get, I think it's a URL, from Rivet when you sign up, like literally in one click, you can take that, put that into your MetaMask, and have a secondary node for MetaMask. So let's say it goes down, or you're not happy with that service or whatever, you literally can just, you're now using Rivet to access the Ethereum infrastructure through MetaMask, which is really, really cool. So it's always cool to have it as an update. If you're super nerdy and you've ever connected to the XDAI chain or something like that, it's the same exact process. But now you're just adding a new way to get to Ethereum mainnet. It's a cool way to test it and connect. But where I was going to go before is, you mentioned that you originally started by forking open source code. So this whole thing is also open sourced and available to community, right?
Yeah. So there's really two aspects to our open source code base. We've got our fork of the Go Ethereum client, where we have introduced streaming replication, which lets us separate out the processing data that we get from peers on the internet to the ones that are handling the requests. But then we have also open sourced documentation and CloudFormation templates. So if you want to run this on the Amazon Web Services, there is a CloudFormation template that you can go out and deploy, fill in a few parameters about how you want to run your stack, and it will be up and running. It takes a couple of hours to do the initial sync when you're standing up a new stack, but then you're off and running, and you can run this yourself if you don't want to trust this sort of information to a third party, which is understandable. I mean, that's kind of
that's an interesting thing, because this is something I actually you'd mentioned to me in the past, and I've like talked to you guys about this in the past, and you talked about privacy, and I remember seeing something where it said like best in class privacy protection and stuff like that. But I actually found out literally this week from you guys that a lot of the node service providers don't protect your privacy as well as they probably should. No, I shouldn't say that. That's probably casting it. What did I say? Is their privacy policies protect them against accidentally sharing your information, and some of them may even be protected from selling your information, which seems completely backwards from what we're trying to build.
Right. And you think about the type of information that is going across our servers and their servers. When you for example, set up MetaMask, or if you're using Total, because that's a dApp that uses our service, when you query for your token balance through us, we get both your IP address and your token address, right? And we could link those together. We don't, and our privacy policy assures you that we won't. We can't tell you what some of our competitors are doing with that information that's going across their systems. And while we have a very strong privacy that lets you sue us into oblivion if we were to sell that information, some of our competitors have privacy policies that protect them and essentially give them the right to sell that data. That doesn't mean that they are, but it means they wouldn't have recourse if they did.
Yeah. So, but I feel like that should be enough to, like, everyone in the crypto community right now is talking about censorship and different things like that. And whatever side of the argument you're on, whether a for-profit company can decide what to do and and what responsibilities to have or whatever. What you do know is part of the beauty of blockchain is its transparency, the fact that you can't censor it, and everything else. So I feel like this was mind-blowing to me. Like, this actually scared me because I was thinking, I can control my MetaMask, right? And I can switch it to Rivet. That's pretty easy. At least for me, and I figured it out. But now should we like almost have like a call to arms, like again, not like in a violent sort of crazy way, but like people should be making a stand saying like, if you're running a dApp, like think about all these dApps that I don't know, just if you're running a product on Ethereum, I don't think that you should be able to keep that information. The whole point, it just seems crazy. Like, should we be bugging? Like, should I call up Stani from Aave and be like, "What the hell, dude? You shouldn't be using. Like, do you run your own nodes? What do you do to mitigate this? Because this is scary, right?" Like,
and I mean, ultimately, from a privacy perspective, the best thing you can do is to run your own nodes, but you're going to have a hard time keeping them up all the time. Right.
I mean, it's not realistic, right? Like, it's not realistic for 99.9% of people, right? I mean, and if you run your own nodes, it doesn't stop you. You're talking from the dApp, but I'm talking about me as an individual. How do I know, if I'm using Compound, or if I'm using Aave, or if I'm using Balancer? And most of us don't go, I have no idea. You could, I guess, try to access them directly through the smart contracts, so they don't see your IP on the level of we're already
if you go to Compound or you go to Aave, and I probably shouldn't use specific examples here because I'm not sure who follows this pattern and who doesn't, but there is kind of a pattern where you might log in with Metamask. So your browser has injected your own Web3 provider that tells it how to get this information and sign it. And some projects will, or some dApps will see this injected Web3 and say, okay, the user's provided Web3. I'm going to route everything through the user's Web3 because they have expressed a preference for where they want to get this information. But then there's others that will say, injected Web3, sometimes it's unreliable. It might flake out a little bit. I'm going to use this other service provider that I have made the determination is more reliable, maybe not more trustworthy, but more reliable. And rather than routing these, I'm still going to use the user's injected Web3 for signing transactions because I have to. But for everything else, I'm going to use this service provider that I know and trust. And we don't even really encourage our customers to do that. They'd be sending us more traffic. That would be more money for us. But when a user injects a Web3, or when a user's browser injects a Web3 backend or a Web3 provider, they're asserting some level of trust that this is where I want my information to go. And to go around that and use some other provider, I think is very much a privacy anti-pattern.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything other than that IP portion of things? Like, is this solved by a VPN, or is there more to it as well?
Well, so a VPN might help to a degree, but if you're, say, trading, imagine you're running like a trading strategy, an arbitrage strategy, and even if you're going over a VPN, they might not be able to link it back to your IP address, but they can see, okay, this person has just queried for this token, and this token across Kyber, Bancor, and whatever else. And they could maybe say, okay, I see this arbitrage opportunity because this customer just ran all of your queries, and then they could potentially front run that arbitrage opportunity before you get a chance to run it yourself because they were able to see all of the queries that you ran. So they don't necessarily have to have the logic themselves develop. They can just see the queries that you're running, realize that you're about to take this arbitrage opportunity and take it before you get the chance, even though you're paying them for access to that information.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's all sorts of things, and I'm sure that over time, and
again, I'm not saying anybody is doing that. I'm saying it's an opportunity that they have.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, we look at big companies, non-crypto companies, and we look at their privacy policies, and we'll be appalled if they put something in their policy that we don't agree with, and the whole community will be like, remove WhatsApp, use this program, use that program, whatever. If Facebook says something, not even if they do something, if they just say that they might, so the fact that we don't hold the crypto community to the same standard seems pretty insane. But this is a bit of a tangent, but it's an interesting conversation. It's kind of fun to talk about. Now, what for me, using Rivet and testing Rivet has been really fun because it was really simple and really easy. I think people something that's very cool as well that I wanted to throw out there is that you can do most things and run most dApps, especially at the beginning, and learn from using Rivet or test Rivet completely under the free tier for the most part, right? I don't, I've tested a bunch of times. I've been able to stay under the free tier to learn. Can you tell people how much that is and all that?
Yes. So we offer a free tier of 3 million requests a month. That essentially gives you about 100,000 requests a day. But if you want to run 3 million requests on the first day of the month and then not have any for the rest of the month, you can do that too. Essentially that is enough for a lot of small. We started off with a free tier of 500,000 requests a month, and then bumped it up to 3 million, and that pushed several of our customers down from paid tier to free tier.
That's awesome.
And so there are a lot of users out there that can get by entirely on our free tier. We're happy to help people get started.
And something that's cool too, and I know now I feel like I'm going through my head of things that are cool about Rivet. Cool. This LinkedIn user just said, so that tier would be for a small startup running a beta. Absolutely.
So actually, I want to clarify a little bit on that. So we have, if you sign up with email, we have our free tier that's $3 million, not $3 million, 3 million requests a month, and so you start off with that. But it doesn't go away. So you can put in your credit card, go up to a paid tier. We charge $1 for every 100,000 requests, but you still get that first 3 million a month. But before we start charging you, and that's one of the things. Most of our competitors have what we call T-shirt sizing, where they've got small, medium, and large, and you got to bump up, and your price quadruples every time you go up to the next tier. But with Rivet, it's once you roll over that next 100,000, we charge you $1 more. There's never a big leap, and so there are some customers who are just a little bit over that 3 million requests a month, and we charge them $2 a month.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's something that's interesting. Like Adele just said, lots of room to test the app, but even start production. I think I do know of a bunch of people that are in production that are in that free tier and growing and stuff like that. So
and even our biggest customers, you used Total as an example earlier. They still get that 3 million requests a month for free, even though they use way more than that.
That's really cool. That's awesome. And I know that you guys support hackathons and give people a bunch of credit so they can test and learn. You should follow Rivet on Twitter, because there's always these opportunities for more free requests also. But something I wanted to throw out there before we signed off too was that we're investors in Prime DAO, and Prime is using Rivet. But what's very, very cool that is happening now is that DAOs are able to use Rivet even if they don't have bank accounts, don't have emails or anything like that. You can now connect directly from here we go. Yeah, that's Rivet on Twitter. But so you can. I know that now I can connect directly through Web3. I don't even have to give you my email address. I can pay for requests in advance and stay totally anonymous as well. Speaking of privacy.
Yeah. So and we do have some customers who have signed up with Web3 pay with crypto. We have no idea who they are. We couldn't get a hold of them if we needed to. But that's the way those customers want to run.
That's wild. I guess that's a part of the crypto space, right? And part of being the infrastructure provider for the space. So before we sign off, any last minute plugs? Rivet.cloud is their website.
Rivet.cloud. Sign up is super easy. You don't you can sign in with Web3 or put in your email address. If you go the email route, it takes about 45 seconds to sign up. You get your 3 million requests a month for free. Pretty quick and easy. And then if you're going to go over the free tier limit, we'll send you an email. You can put in your credit card, or you can buy credits with crypto in order to keep running.
That's awesome. And then one last quick thing, because one of the users were asking, is what type of technical support do you guys offer?
So we have, for most of our bigger customers that we have existing relationships with, we will set up a Telegram where they can hit us up any time of day or night with questions as they have them. Aside from that, we have support at rivet.cloud for email support, and then during business hours, we have a chat app on on rivet.cloud where you can reach out directly with questions. That goes straight through to our Slack, so we all get notifications and somebody will get with you quickly.
That's very, very cool. Austin, thanks for joining me on this first, this episode 0 or episode 1, whatever the heck we want to call it.
I think we should start with 0.
We should start with 0. I need to go and edit all of the posts that that's that episode.
Well, you've already said it's 1, then it's 1, but
Well, that's the great thing.
I'm a developer. I do 0 indexing.
We need to censor ourselves and edit our stuff. And hey, thanks, Carlos, for joining us. Carlos is the host of an epic, awesome TV show called Beyond TV, or Carlos and Lisa on Beyond TV. I get to promote crypto on his on television, thanks to Carlos. So give that a view. And thanks for joining us, Matthew, as well. All right, everyone. We will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Alon.
Thanks.